In terms of my background, it's pretty varied, to be honest. I started off doing accounting and finance with French, which is not too controversial, I guess, as an accountant. And I found out pretty early on I didn't want to be an accountant. So as I went through uni, realised like double entry economics wasn't really my bag, but I persevered anyway. It was kind of where I'd set off. So I pushed on. My first couple of roles I was kind of fortunate, really, landing in analytical roles, so lots of spreadsheet work, lots of data analysis, modelling, and I realised that was what I enjoyed. So having come from being an accountant, I realised that part of being in a finance team was what really kind of lit up my mind and what I enjoyed and what actually I was hopefully quite good at. From that point, I kind of started to badge myself as not being an accountant. So I worked as an analyst, like commercial analyst. I worked as kind of an analyst for a management accountant in a production firm, which was much more of a manufacturing background. And whilst I was in the accounting team, I wasn't really doing what I'd call accounting. It is accounting because it's management accounting, but it's not core like finance stuff, no double entry, all that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed that part, and that's what effectively I've carried through as the bit that I really enjoy. I left there, went to a family business, and there actually I did jump back into accounts because all the accounts were on paper, which seems kind of crazy these days to think that anyone ever put accounts in a ledger, but accounts were in a ledger. So I took them from that into Sage and just helped kind of build up a bit of a finance team. So that was much more of an accounting background and took me back to my learnings of uni, I guess. But whilst I enjoyed the experience, it still wasn't really the thing that I wanted to do at that point. It wasn't the thing that excited me, I guess. Moved from there, had my first son, and I was really fortunate whilst we had Callum that I could take some time off. So I used that time to play around with some businesses, and I had a couple of epic fails. So I set up a camera business called KMS Cameras, which you've never heard of because that was Keith, Myles and Sarah, which is a great bit of marketing. I set up a kind of initial thing, a bit like Facebook really, but I had about 2 people join it, which was really successful. One that I can't even remember. And then I set up Clarity, which is my own business, which is still alive today. And that's basically me working as an analyst and as an accountant through the business. And that's grown and shrunk over time as small businesses do. Again, in that period, what I was really focusing on was not being an accountant, which is kind of weird when I think about it now, but I would go out of my way to not say I was an accountant. So particularly like socially, it's not great, is it? You say to someone you're an accountant and they instantly are like looking for somewhere to go. Okay, where's the nearest toilet? But I think that's a really outdated view. And to be honest, these days, I don't think people have that perspective of accountants, or not, hopefully not. But it was certainly the view kind of 20 years ago. So from there, I then started to work as a contractor. So I started contracting in Lloyds Banking Group and worked as kind of in the change team. So I worked in change either as a project manager or a business analyst. And that skill set is one that I've really found useful as I've moved on, interestingly. It feels a bit of a weird mix, really, but accounting analyst and then a business analyst, which is all about understanding people's requirements and what they're trying to do, their processes, and then a project manager where you're leading a project from start to finish and understanding the timeline and managing varying risks and issues and dependencies. That mix of skills I found really useful, and particularly actually the BA piece, so the business analyst bit has been really interesting of how that applies throughout your career. From there, I kind of came out and did a lot of modeling, training. So I taught myself to be a trainer. So I went to train the trainer course, totally out of my comfort zone, not at all my personality. I was a really quiet kid. And I forced myself into that. I was so uncomfortable doing that, like really, really uncomfortable. But coming through that, built my confidence. I found that I love training, and that's one of the things that I do on a weekly basis now. And kind of took that and kind of honed it as a skill, set up a business around training, and then kind of bizarrely fell into being a fractional FD, completely by accident. Didn't see myself as a finance director at all. Really had that mentality of a management accountant, I guess, that analytics and management accountant. I by accident landed a first fractional FD role and found I loved it. Met Kate from Artemis Clarke, and she kind of persuaded me that I am actually an FD, which took a while, I've got to be honest, because I had this mindset of an FD is I don't know, someone who's managing Lloyds Banking Group or HSBC or some huge hedge fund or something. The kind of person you see on TV that's interviewed with the Prime Minister and all that kind of stuff. In reality, there's FDs all over the world who are running small companies like I do, who have a very different skill set to those large FDs. I've kind of gone through a real variety of being a real analytical background, project manager, business analyst, trainer, and then up into finance director. And now I have a mix, I guess, of being a fractional finance director, working for Full Stack Modeler, which is an online training platform, and then I still do some consultancy around building models and a bit of independent training as well.